From the land of lakes, this is 10,000 Takes. Brought to you by Minnesota Score Radio. Wally and Eric back for yet another week as we slice and dice the always busy, always topical, super saturated Twin Cities sports scene. And boy, a lot going on, as always, and a lot of positive stories connected to Minnesota teams. But we have to start front and center with the Minnesota Timberwolves, who for the second straight year are in the NBA's Final Four. They've reached the Western Conference Finals. They're taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think it's two very hungry teams led by young superstars, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA, Anthony Edwards, Ant, passionate fan bases. This could be a whale of a matchup.
Yeah. Well, and it is a whale of a matchup. I mean, you know, the Wolves made it this far last year, and I guess the question becomes, did you expect them to get this far this year? I tell you what, I think I can speak for both of us in saying, based on what we saw through the first, 2/3, 3/4 of the regular season, I would say no. I had no concept that this team was going to get back to the Western Conference Finals, which, of course, is, that's been the pinnacle for Minnesota throughout their history. Once this team came into being in the early 2000s, they've never made it this far before. So it's actually before the 2000s, the early 90s, I should say, when they came into being. But they're here, and now it's time to take the next step. I mean, get to the finals. You made it to the Western Conference Finals last year. Now, back-to-back seasons, you're in the Western Conference Final. It's that natural progression, right?
Absolutely. I mean, the goal here is to get to the finals and then win it. The one thing, though, I think we're seeing in the NBA, and it started a few years ago, parity. And I love it. I think it's great for the association. Once upon a time, it was Boston, the LA Lakers, the Chicago Bulls, the Miami Heat, the Golden State Warriors. These were teams that were all dynasties at one point in time. Now we're going to have, when they crown a champion in June, for the seventh straight year, a seventh different NBA champion. And It might be Minnesota. I think of this quartet of teams left, you could grab one out of a hat and feel good about your choice. I think Timberwolves and Thunder, I believe they mirror each other in a lot of ways, and I wouldn't be surprised if it goes 7. I think you're going to see they're going to go bonkers down in OKC. We know that. That's a one-horse town. All they have is the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Right.
They're not sports saturated like we are in the Twin Cities with all the other pro teams. But on the flip side, how long have Timberwolves fans waited to even think about going to the NBA Finals? Last year, they thought they were going to do it. They went out in 5 to Dallas. So it's a chance for redemption, a chance to take the next step, and a chance for somebody like Julius Randle to make a mint in the offseason. He's going to get paid buku bucks. I mean, because he's a free agent.
Player option, and he can decide what he wants to do. We've talked about this ad nauseum, and it's so true. If you get this far, you better take advantage once you get here, because, you just don't know if you'll be back down this road again next year. You don't know. Injuries play a part. Look what happened to Golden State. Steph Curry gets hurt in Game 1, and really the Warriors were not the same after that. And Cat leaves town, and you didn't think that the Wolves were going to make it this far. Well, lo and behold, they are here. So take advantage while you're here. That's all I can say.
I completely agree, and I'll give you some examples. Let's talk about the Denver Nuggets. 2 years ago, they won the title, right? They haven't even gotten back to the NBA Finals. Same with the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks may end up trading Giannis Antetokounmpo. Your window in what is now, I truly believe, a more parity-laden NBA than we've ever seen in history.
Yeah.
Your window is small. You have to pounce on the opportunity. But the bad news is they're saying the exact same thing in Oklahoma City and in Indianapolis with the Indiana Pacers, and even with the New York Knicks, who, for all the splash and the headlines and the attention they get for being in the number one media market, they have 2 NBA titles, and they've been around since 1947. So in some ways, the Knicks are like a small market team.
Yeah, 1973 the last time they won?
Yep, and 1970. So their success is limited despite all the media exposure they get.
Well, if you listen to the national media, you would think that they were the only team in the Final Four this year, right?
That is
it's all about the Knicks.
New York City bias.
Yes, it is. All right. The other team that you mentioned that has been catching the headlines, or at least did for a couple of weeks, your Minnesota Twins. They ran off a 13-game winning streak in which they went from a 13-win team. They were 13-20 at the start of the winning streak and finished at 26-20 after they had won 13 in a row. So they won just as many games in the winning streak as they had the entire previous, 33 games in the year. So it was a great run. It got them right back into contention.
Yeah, that's what it's done. And they have to keep winning.
Right.
Because they are in... If they're not in the best division in Major League Baseball, the AL Central, it's the second best behind the NL West. I think both those divisions have, one weak link. That would be Colorado and the Chicago White Sox. But the AL Central is tough, and this is a week where obviously weather's played into it. Cleveland is a team you're going to battle with. Kansas City comes in this weekend. You're going to get a lot of games left with Detroit. So they put themselves back in position to do something special, but they have to keep winning. And it's unfortunate they lost two of the core three guys in Carlos Correa and Byron Buxton, that collision in Baltimore. But I guess the good news is I would expect we're going to see them back sometime next week.
Yeah, let's hope so. All right, we got more to come. We're going to talk baseball kinda in the next segment. Interesting interviews. Stay with us.
Yeah, how about Fenway Park in Dallas? We are 10K takes your T-Wolves ticket.
Seeing clearly matters. Being seen matters more. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
In Lakeville, Minnesota, dozens of meeting venues are ready to host your next corporate event, banquet, and holiday party. Lakeville has unique conference facilities, a variety of hotels, an abundance of team-building options, and dining that are sure to impress. For suggestions that suit your needs, please call the Lakeville Convention and Visitors Bureau at 952-469-2020 or go to visitlakeville.org. Lakeville, we mean business.
When you see somebody who's a great skater, you can see in their individual rhythm. My name is Christian Grunna. I'm owner, head coach, operator, main instructor for Grunna Power Skating. We had a history of not just speed skating, but auto racing in our family, so we're always interested in being fast. I want every player that comes my way to develop their skills, but also grow confidence in themselves as a human being.
And we are Minnesota Scores 10,000 Takes, Wally and Eric. We're going to talk some baseball/wiffle ball now. A guy down in Texas, he's just north of Dallas, and you can see over my shoulder there, has built, along with his wife, a wiffle ball stadium that mimics Fenway Park. And he joins us now. This is Stephen Newton coming to us from his home in Bells, Texas, 60 miles north of Dallas. All right, what inspired this to put this ballpark in your front yard of all things?
We ask ourselves that question every day lately. So, well, like most people, we have a baseball crazy kid, and we played wiffle ball in the backyard. We lived in a typical neighborhood where all the houses were real close to each other. And 8 years ago, we bought 33 acres of land out in the country. And there was a real nice, flat, green spot of grass. And he said, "Hey, Dad, we can have a bigger wiffle ball field out there." So from the beginning, we wanted to have a wiffle ball field, but nothing like this. And we saw the picture of Little Fenway in Vermont that's been there for years. And I reached out to the guy and I said, "Hey, what's that look like to build something like that?" And he said, "Well, if you're going to do it right." He said, "Do it with turf. Do metal." He said, "With the weather and everything up here, I'm constantly having to jack with grass, and I'm having to replace rotting wood and paint the wood and things like that. So you can do it with metal, do it with turf, do it that way." He said, but just be ready. He said, because of the mission and everything that you guys are trying to accomplish there, he said, get ready, man. Word's going to get out on that field. You're going to have people from all over North America show up. And he's been right. The people are showing up for sure to play wiffle ball here. But as far as why we picked Fenway, the Red Sox have been my favorite American League team, no offense, for many years. And then the other reason, which is kind of funny, is the land right behind it is pipeline land. And there's some unsightly pipes coming out of the ground and a city water tank and a city watershed. And what better way to cover up all that unsightly thing, all those unsightly things than a big green wall, right? So it played two parts there. Fenway, because it's iconic, and a big green wall to cover up some ugly things on the land behind us.
And if you build it, they will come. I know you're getting national attention. You've been on the Today Show. I've seen some of the stories out of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and I'm amazed by the attention to detail. You've got seats on top of your green monster, just like they do in Boston.
Yeah, that happened accidentally as well. We run the largest privately funded student ministry, high school student ministry in the country here, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. We have 120 to 145 students here from 20 different high schools every week. So we run out of storage space. So we bought a storage container like you see coming in on ships, from overseas, and they're pretty unsightly. So I was like, hey, we can just hide that behind the green monster. So our storage would be back behind the wall. My wife was like, no problem. And the day they put it back there, guys, I climbed up on top of the store. And as soon as I got up there and I looked over the fence, I go, oh man, I've got an idea. And my wife goes, no, we cannot put seats up there. And so I got a price on what it would cost to build 2 levels up there. And like the craziest thing happened, one of our Bible study kids, he said, hey, my parents need a write-off. We're 501c3s. Like my parents need a write-off. And they wrote a check, and it was the exact amount we needed to build 2 levels of seats and stairs and everything back behind it. And then we were just going to have loose chairs up there because stadium seats, like refinished stadium seats out of big stadiums, are so expensive. And a dear friend of ours from Dallas called and he goes, man, I owe you guys an apology. We've never donated money to y'all's student ministry, and we want to make a donation. What's your Venmo? So I sent him the Venmo. I don't think anything about it. And guys, the Venmo popped up, and it was thousands of dollars. It was the exact amount that real stadium seats would cost to put on top of the deal. So literally 2 donations come in, and we had iconic 2 levels of seats on top of the green monster. It was incredible.
All right. Outside of the student ministry that you're doing, what goes on there on a daily basis? Do you have, has your son created a league, or are there leagues, or are there kids that just come haphazard? What exactly happens on a daily basis on this field?
Yeah, so we live here. The student ministry happens every Sunday night, but this time of year coming up with the school being out, we'll have kids here just randomly throughout the day and throughout the evening. The reason we're not doing this interview outside today is we're adding more lights around the stadium right now today. So more lights on the parking lot we're having to put in, things like that as the student ministry's grown. But now, since all the social media attention, every single day there's 1 to 5 different cars that pulls in from all over the earth. We've had 8 or 9 different couples now in the last 2 weeks from Boston, Massachusetts, pull up in our driveway. One guy gets out and he starts talking about the stadium. He's like, oh man, this is so great. Your attention to detail. He said, I grew up going to all the games in the 70s. And I was like, that's cool. And then he goes, yeah, I know Jim Rice and I know Dwight Evans and I know Yastrzemski. And I'm like, it's interesting. And then he's like, yeah, I know all their kids. And I'm like, okay, that's one thing to claim you know these people. Now you're saying you know their kids. And he goes, my dad was the team pediatrician in the 70s. And I was like, oh, never mind. So all the employees, all the players, all their kids went to this guy's doctor. He's 75 years old. He saw it on the news, and he's like, he's a attorney, and he happened to be up doing some government work, and he was 20, 30 miles away. He's like, I couldn't be this close and not come out and see your Fenway. He said, this is pretty incredible. And he got me to take a bunch of pictures of him on top of the green monster, and it's been pretty wild. So, yeah, we're getting lots of people just pulling in the driveway from literally all over the country.
Did you ever think it would blow up this big, this fast, or is that simply because now if something gets out there, it goes viral, it's out in cyberspace, we can find out about it here in Minnesota, and within, an hour, I'm contacting you about it. Did you think it would get this big, blow up?
No, and that's never our intention. We've never monetized this. We're getting a lot of offers to like monetize this and that, and you see all the thousands of comments. I bet they make a fortune there, blah blah blah. We don't make any money here. We're a nonprofit. We built the building, the wiffle ball field, the basketball court. We built all that for our student ministry. That's it. We don't monetize this in any way. And so, no, it's like when people hit a half-court shot, and they're like, yeah, I knew I had it all the way, or they hit a 50-foot putt, yeah, I knew I had it. No, you did not know you were going to make that right. No, we never dreamed it would turn into this. It just a guy posted pictures of the field 2 months ago in a huge Red Sox group on Facebook, and it just went absolutely wild. It got thousands of shares, and then some guy that runs a big account on Twitter, he took the pictures, he put them on there. Chipper Jones retweeted it, and it just went wild from there. And so, no, we never in our wildest dreams. Now, when I go back and think about the conversation I had with the guy that built this one, the one like this in Vermont, he told me, he goes, ESPN's going to end up in your yard one day. Just watch, And they haven't ended up here yet, but the attention is definitely, the light's definitely been shining on our little field here in little tiny Bells, Texas, or Bells, America, as they call it around here.
Well, don't be surprised, because there are professional wiffle ball leagues. I'm sure you probably have heard about them, and they do tournaments around the country. So don't be surprised if they do show up. Question for you. When this thing was being built, was it hands-on for you? Were you out there, or is this, did you contract out the whole thing, putting in the turf or pounding nails or whatever it is that had to be done?
Yeah, I was the general contractor and the executive producer. So that means I kind of drew it up and paid for it, right? So, but no, I tried to use as many local people as possible as well. I found a local welder. I found a guy that there's this guy that goes in and takes up turf. He takes up turf from all big events. Matter of fact, he took up the turf when the Super Bowl was in Minnesota a few years ago. He took that turf up. Well, they didn't care what he did with it, so he actually resells that turf to people. And
wow.
The guy in Dallas has the NFL logo from y'all's Super Bowl that y'all hosted. The NFL logo is in his backyard, so down in the Dallas area. So, but so we found the turf. So I did some of the work, but no, I didn't do the welding. We hired a lot of that kind of stuff done. Yes, locally.
If you were going to do another one of these, a spinoff, would it be Wrigley, Dodger Stadium, the K in Kansas City, PNC Park, Target Field in Minneapolis? What would you choose for another version?
Yeah, well, funny story. About 4 years ago, when we first started building the field, Ray Davis, who owns the Texas Rangers, he lives about 10 or 12 minutes north of us here out in the country himself. And I ran into him. He's real good friends with my dad. They go to church together. And he goes, "Hey, I heard you're building a Fenway Park at your place." He goes, "You're killing me, man. Why aren't you building a ballpark in Arlington?" And now looking back, he's not even using that stadium anymore, right? He's already built a new stadium. And I said, I need a big green wall, and it's iconic. And he goes, "I'm just giving you a hard time." He goes, "I'd build the same one out there." So, but if we were to build another one, I don't want to be an ivy farmer, and I don't think painted brick would look that good. So, but it would definitely have to be something iconic. But I think where we live, there's a lot of corn pastures. I think we could do Field of Dreams and have the corn outfield. We've got 33 acres of all trees here, so we could definitely do the Field of Dreams one here pretty easily. That would be the next one, because that one wouldn't cost me near as much money as this one either. So.
Corn's cheap.
Yeah.
Corn is cheap. That's right. Yes.
Doesn't last very long, but it's cheap. Well, Stephen, when you get around to going to building the Field of Dreams outside of Fenway there, let us know. We'll have you back on. In the meantime, best wishes with your project.
Yes, thank you, guys.
Thanks, Stephen.
He is Stephen Newton. He and his wife have built a Field of Dreams of their own, a little Fenway down in Texas. We're back with more here on 10,000 Takes after this. Stay with us.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earrings. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision. It's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
When you see somebody who's a great skater, you can see in their individual rhythm. My name is Christian Grunna. I'm owner, head coach, operator, main instructor for Grunna Power Skating. We had a history of not just speed skating, but auto racing in our family, so we're always interested in being fast. I want every player that comes my way to develop their skills, but also grow confidence in themselves as a human being.
Welcome back. Minnesota scores 10,000 takes. All right, I know we are starving for championships here with the Timberwolves in the Western Conference Finals again, and the Twins haven't done it since 91, and the Vikings have never done it, and we can go on and on, neither of the Wild or the North Stars, yada, yada, yada. But we have a team in the championship, the ladies, that is, the PWHL Minnesota Frost in the championship for the second straight year. They won it all last year. And then the Minnesota Lynx, who were in the finals last year and lost only because of a bad call at the end of the game, they would have had their fifth WNBA title. And both are going right now.
Yeah, so leave it to the gals to have to prop up the guys here here in Minnesota. But, give it up for the Frost. They started slow, didn't look good. They had all that. It was toxic in the offseason with coaching changes.
And barely made the playoffs,
Barely made the playoffs, but they might have another parade or whatever they're going to do in St. Paul for the Frost if they win it. And the Lynx, yeah. And I'll say this. If the Lynx can get championship number 5 this season, I'm not discounting the other 4 at all. But the WNBA is a lot bigger today than it was 3 years ago, 2 years ago.
Right.
The WNBA is garnering a ton of attention. So how about Nafisa Collier, who flies under the radar behind Caitlin Clark and Paige Beckers and Angel Reese and Aja Wilson out in Las Vegas? How about Nafisa getting a ring?
Yeah. She's got a league. She started that
That's right.
that 3-on-3 league.
Unrivaled,
yes, it is. Okay. Your Minnesota Vikings went through minicamp. We're now kind of in that dead zone here before training camp starts in July. And we still do not have a backup quarterback. Who's going to be your backup quarterback? Right now, I don't know, who is it, by the way? It's J.J. McCarthy, who is coming off an injury, a season-ending injury that happened in the preseason. And he's a rookie for all intents and purposes. We can call him a redshirt rookie, I guess, since he was around but didn't play. I don't know, man. Do you roll the dice like this and not have a veteran quarterback as your backup?
I don't think there's any way you can do it. You've got to have a QB2 in the room. Somebody, look, you got to find another Sam Darnold. Because initially when they brought Darnold in a year ago, I think they really thought he'd back up JJ or maybe start a few games and then they'd hand it off to JJ McCarthy. But then he got injured, McCarthy, right away against Vegas in the preseason. So that changed the narrative. Darnold had a great year until the final 2 games, and he cashed in, and he's out in Seattle now printing money.
Yes.
But look, JJ McCarthy might be the next Fran Tarkenton. But he can also get hurt. That's been proven. And he might also turn into the next Alex Smith or Zach Wilson. There's so many first-round busts, I can't keep up with them.
Tim Couch,
Trey Lance. I mean, they're on and on it goes. But my point is, you have to have a QB2. I still think you got to think about Aaron Rodgers. If you can figure it out on your terms and his terms, and then even Captain Kirk Cousins. What's he going to do?
You want to bring Captain Kirk?
Well, I'm just saying, I myself would not be comfortable if you're putting it all on JJ.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, they're going to have to figure something out because I don't think that you're going to come back to some guy that has never taken an NFL snap as your backup quarterback. All right, takes of the day coming up next. It's going to be a doozy.
All right, 10K takes. Your Lynx and Frost ticket.
Finding the ideal place to stay is important for business travelers. Lakeville, Minnesota is conveniently located off I-35, just south of the Twin Cities with a variety of hotel choices. Lakeville offers convenient amenities such as shopping, walking trails, golf, and more. Our unique meeting spaces, historic downtown, live music, and over 60 dining options are sure to impress. Book your next stay in Lakeville and experience convenience, comfort, and quality. Find your perfect hotel at visitlakeville.org.
Wally and Eric from 10,000 Takes here in the land of lakes. And if you want sports of all sorts, check us out. We cover all the bases, all the teams in the great state of Minnesota.
Vikings, Twins, Wild, Gophers, Timberwolves, Loons, you name it, we do it. Late night Saturday night on Fox 9 Plus and on the Fox local app.
Seeing clearly matters. Being seen matters more. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
"10K Takes" on television as we wrap up yet another episode. Big shout out to the viewers in the Twin Ports and the Twin Cities as we go up and down that busy I-35 corridor. And they want to know what your mood is this week. Are you a cranky Yankee, a sarcastic Sam, crusty Cavalier now that Cleveland's out of the playoffs? What is your mood?
Well, as you know, this past weekend I spent some time in Milwaukee watching the Twins and the Brewers, and I was able to watch the famous sausage race that happens in the seventh inning during the seventh inning stretch in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Apparently it's been going on for about 30 years now, and there's some famous happenings where the sausages get tripped up by players and vice versa, all kinds of stuff going on. But I find it interesting that these sausages that are dressed up, I don't know, kind of stereotypical if you ask me. Lord knows we can't have the Cleveland Indians, we can't have Chief Wahoo, but we can have an Italian sausage dressed up like a guy that looked like he fell off a pizza box. We could have the Mexican chorizo sausage with the guy with the sombrero on. Tell me that's not stereotyping. Or the Polish sausage, the guy's got a goofy-looking striped shirt on. No, that's okay. But Lord knows we can't have Chief Wahoo and the Cleveland Indians. I'd say there's a little bit of hypocrisy going on in Major League Baseball. They allow that. But please, no Chief Wahoo, no Cleveland Indians.
And that mood meter says he is a sarcastic Sam. Yeah, a little bit teed off today, aren't you?
Yeah, well, it was fun to watch him, running around and all that. And I saw the Italian guy, and I said, okay, come on now, man.
It's a Milwaukee staple. All right.
I know.
All right, my take of the day is they came and they went. The NFL owners' meetings were here in the Twin Cities earlier in the week at the Viking Lakes Omni Hotel in Eagan, where the Vikings have their headquarters. And I'm wondering if they're ever going to come back. Let's see. Tuesday and Wednesday were the main days of the meetings. And I don't think we even got to 50 degrees.
No,
It never stopped raining. It felt like Seattle. These fat cat billionaires all came in on their private jets. They could not have been happy that they were stuck in Eagan for 2 days when it felt like almost the early winter. So Ziggy Wilf, you may not get your brotherhood back in the Twin Cities anytime soon. I'm curious, why didn't they go to Palm Springs? Why didn't they go to Palm Beach? And what did they do when they were here? Where did they go spend all their money? That may have been the most, collectively, the richest group of individuals ever to step on soil in Minneapolis, St. Paul in 2 days. I mean, NFL owners, as we all know, are filthy rich. And, of course, they had to pause the accelerator program as they cave in to the POTUS and all this anti-DEI stuff. The NFL is pretty weak when it comes to all that. And anyway, so these owners came. I don't know how much they spent. They probably got comped on everything, and now they're gone. And I've got a feeling we won't see another NFL owners meeting in Eagan anytime soon.
No, I seriously doubt it.
All right, we got to go. Thanks for tuning us in. We are 10K Takes, your sports ticket.